Hello everybody, welcome to Totally Tabled. My name is Shaggy, and today I'm just going to give you my quick thoughts on Woodcraft. I just did a full solo playthrough, so please go check that out. As always, when I do one of these review videos, I assume that you've either watched that playthrough or you know how the game works. I now played Woodcraft multiple times, both solo and at 2 players, so I'll speak to both of those. Now, this is a game that's really in my wheelhouse because it's a medium weight Euro and it's from a designer that I really love, Vladimir Suchy. He has a co-designer on this one, Arnold. I'm not familiar with him, but I love underwater cities. That made my top 50 games of all time. Go check out that list if you haven't. I'm also a big fan of Shipyard and Pulsar 20, whatever that date is on that game. I was looking through my collection here in my office. I can't seem to find it. I'm pretty much a fan of every game that he's made to varying degrees. And one of the things I really love about Woodcraft is that it uses dice as resources. There's actually not a lot of games that do that. I can think of Rajas of the Ganges, for instance, does that. And I love that the dice here are different kinds of wood because all those dice manipulations that are so puzzly and so satisfying make a lot of thematic sense, right? You can cut the dice, you can add little bits to the dice, you can glue 2 dice together. These are sort of standard dice manipulation things, but here it makes a lot of sense because you're using saw blades to cut them in half. You're using glue to glue 2 pieces of wood together, or you're using some scrap wood to just increase it by 1 or 2. Great thematic integration. And it just makes sense, right? It's just easy to understand these rules. I also particularly love that you can do all these things as anytime actions. You can do them as many times as you want, in any order, so long as you have the resources and the tools available. That's fantastic because it means there is a limit to how much you can do it, but it doesn't feel like a slog. It doesn't feel like I have to use my turn just to manipulate these dice. No, I can do them as much as I want anytime. It gives you that great puzzly feeling. And it means that you can have these mega turns. It's one of my favorite things in games, is being able to have mega turns. Macau is sort of the shining example of a game that gives you mega turns. But you get it here. You sell a die for double its value, you buy a 6, you cut it in half, you glue a bit on, you fuse these 2 together, you get to fulfill this contract that then gives you another die that you cut, and you can fulfill another contract, or you plant it. You get to have these really satisfying turns. And it also just makes the puzzle that much more fun and clever. So I really love the dice mechanism here. Now, the other kind of star of the show is this wheel, this big imposing wheel in the center of the table. It's incredibly clever as well. Now, it's really just sort of like a really souped up version of a kind of river mechanism, or I'm not sure what you call it, but it's in Small World, it's in PAX Premier. Ooh, there's a great old game called Firenze that uses it to good effect, where if you pass over cards, you have to put points or money on them to make the cards that people aren't taking, the actions that people aren't taking, more valuable, more enticing. And this is basically what's happening here. You have your 7 action wedges out there, and all the actions are really simple and easy to understand, and I really appreciate that. And so as you're taking these actions, the old actions are slowly becoming more valuable, giving you more bonuses. It's a pretty complicated system because it really matters the order that things are taken in. You know, if you take one action over and over and over again, all the previous actions are going to get much more valuable. There's going to be many more bonuses associated with them. And those bonuses are really critical. When like my first couple of games, I was just sort of taking the actions that I wanted to take for my strategy, not really paying much attention to those bonuses. And in the later games, I've really been adjusting what I do. If there's an action that's going to give you a ton of stuff, I'll just take that for the bonuses. And I've done much better. So I really feel like those bonuses and taking advantage of them are critical. And I just really like how that wheel works. Now, one thing I sort of glossed over, I meant to talk about it more in the playthrough, but I just sort of forgot to double back to it, is those lanterns and how you can use them. And you can actually do some clever things by using those lanterns. Now, I usually just save 3 of them and get an extra turn. But you can spend a lantern to basically move any of the actions, get the bonuses associated with them, and then take a different action. And that could be valuable, and you could use that at the right time to really good effect. You know, maybe you don't want a new helper, but no one's taken that helper action in a while, and there's some juicy bonuses on there. I'll spend a lantern, I'll move that one, get the bonuses, and then I'll just take whatever action I want. There's also an edge case where if an action is used too much, it can get stuck where you can't use it again until, you know, like that first quadrant is cleared off so that the needle can move. Because the needle can only move if the quadrant is completely empty. And so that's another case where maybe you use a lantern to be able to take that action. Again, just really clever stuff. All of these mechanisms are streamlined and extremely clever. Now, one thing to note here is that this is a very low interaction game. You are taking actions which may change the bonuses for someone. You're taking helpers and contracts that maybe they wanted, maybe taking dice of certain values that they wanted. And there is a little bit of a race for some of the objectives, the public objectives, and for those tracks, like the reputation track. But I've experienced very little sort of hate drafting in that sense. You're more just working on your own puzzle and occasionally getting in someone's way. So for that reason, I think the two-player game is great. And I'm not really sure I have any desire to play it at higher player counts. I'm not sure how much that would add, except for more movement on the wheel. And maybe that could be an interesting dynamic. I don't know. Thought it worked great at 2. Really happy with it at 2 as a low interaction, casual and fairly quick playing game. And because it's so low interaction, I really love the implementation of the solo mode. This is a beat your own high score type of solo game that I know a lot of people don't really like. I like it here in a game like this because the puzzle is so strong and satisfying, and because the interaction with the other players is so low. I don't really need another player to be competing against, right? This little deck of cards is manipulating things, kind of as another player might. And honestly, that's enough. I'm happy to not have a lot of maintenance of an AI opponent, and I can just focus on the good stuff, the puzzle. It's so quick playing, so breezy. And like I said before, like I've said with, the Arc Nova solo mode, I don't want every solo mode to be like this. But for low interaction Euros, I think it works great. I can really see this hitting the table a lot as a solo game because of just how easy it is. So at the end of the day, Woodcraft is getting an 8 from me, both as a solo game and as a two-player game. I think this is a fantastic low interaction medium weight Euro. And if you like those sorts of things, if you like the puzzly nature of this dice mechanism, I highly recommend it. This made my top 10 games from 2022. Go check out that list. I've played it even a little bit more after that, and I've only enjoyed it more. So this one's definitely a keeper for me. And I feel like in the rush to move to the next hotness, this game is getting a little bit overlooked. Now, maybe my perception of that is wrong. But yeah, give this one a second look. It deserves it. And there you go. That's all from me. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.